Harbin Jail, northeast China. It's Chinese New Year's Eve. The singer's doing 5 years for fraud, and the orchestra's inside for anything from robbery to murder. The prison and the prisoners are part of our story. But the real start in Harbin was the search for the center of a series of concentric circles. At the center, a family, the next circle, the street in which they lived, then the next, the neighborhood. Then, what happened if the family went sick, or mad, or bad? What circles of prison, hospital, mental hospital surrounded them? We wanted a street to film. We liked this one without knowing who lived there, and picked it as a free choice. It's called -18 Street, and it has 9 family houses, all connected somehow or other to the railway. We saw smoke coming from number 5, went inside and met this man. He's Mr. Ma, a railway policeman with 2 girls and a wife who's a nurse. This young wife lives with her widowed mother-in-law at number 9. She's expecting her first baby in 3 months' time. She's been married for 8 months. In the houses all the way up the street, you'll find flowers, goldfish, photos, the little luxuries that tell of modest spare cash. Traditionally, no knives or cutting implements can be used on New Year's Day itself. It's said that on New Year's Eve, any home where one cannot hear the sound of a meat chopper must be a poor one. It's a time for family, for visiting, and for friends. The widow's 2 other sons are back for the new year. Mr. Sun drives a truck for the railway. He lives at number 8 in 3 rooms with his wife, his son and daughter-in-law, his daughters, his mother, and the TV. 6 families out of 9 in -18 Street have black and white televisions. They cost about 2 months' pay for the average Harbin family. Mr. Sun's a great TV man, and the set stayed on all through the enormous New Year's Eve meal. Yang Weifang is recovering from TB at home. She lives at number 7 with her mother, father, and younger brother in 4 rooms. The older brother lives away from home in his factory dormitory. The father drives a truck for the railway and earns £30 a month. Mother makes sweets in a food store, and the younger brother's a plumber. The other brothers come back for the holiday. He's helping with the dumplings for tomorrow. The people at number 6 were away, but at number 5, Mr. Ma, the policeman, our first contact, was round the table with a friend, his 2 girls, and his parents, who are retired and live with them. The Ma's belong to a Muslim minority called the Hui. They never eat pork and can't even stand the smell of it when the neighbors are cooking. So tonight it's Mongolian hot pot, lamb, cooked by dipping the meat into boiling stock along with the vegetables. The fireworks that went on all night seemed partly sheer enjoyment and partly a reversion back to an older time when paper money was burnt at the crossroads to bring good luck in the following year. We're at number 4. The father's a carpenter for the railway, and he's managed to get his married son, who works in a second-hand store, a railway house. The girl in the blue sweater is his daughter, a primary school teacher. Most evenings they watch TV, but tonight they'll play cards till dawn. To find a really big family, we had to go to another district. And there, in a block of flats reserved for intellectuals, we found Liu Shaoliao, the manager of the local opera, and its star. Children are seldom left alone. They're with adults most of the time, on someone's back or in someone's arms. They automatically take part in family gatherings, and they learn with their mother's milk that groups are far more important than individuals. It's a drinking game. Tiger eats sheep, sheep eats chicken, chicken eats worm, etc. And the loser drinks bottoms up. Everyone in Harbin stays up till dawn, even the prisoners. This boy's 19 and a murderer. He killed another youth in a cafe brawl. He escaped with a suspended death sentence. He should have been shot, but he was too young. When the dawn comes, minus 18th Street and the whole of North China eats its New Year dumplings. The school children have 10 days holiday, and everyone else gets at least 4. Harbin's on the end of an old railway line that runs straight back into Russia. Its buildings and even its sports show its Russian past. The ice lasts from November to April. Every year, right in the center of Harbin, they create a sort of frozen Disneyland. The figures are carved out of ice from the river by a band of sculptors. The techniques stay the same, but the figures change with the times. When the Russians were here, the themes were crosses and icons. Now that the Cultural Revolution is over, the figures of heroic workers have been edged into the background, and it's all Snow White, Charlie Chaplin, Doves of Peace, and space rockets. When the festivities had died down, the cameras went back to number 5. Mr. Ma, the railway policeman, was putting a lock on the wardrobe cupboard in the girls' room, while his wife was on ward duty in the hospital.
我和我爱人呢，始终是平等的，互相呢互尊互敬互爱。对待老人呢，都是必须是互相孝顺。有一个共同的责任，就是啥呢？共同这个教育好啊，培养好中国的第二代，使他们更早的这个成为一个国家有用的人才。我们之间关系吧，一般有事情我们都是共同商量的，家务事情呢我们是共同去做，哎，不分什么这个哈，像过去讲的那个大丈夫了哈，没有那个意思。像拿洗衣服做饭吧，我也要做的，我也要做的。从经济上来看呢，就是他挣的，我也可以用啊。我挣的钱呢，就我爱人来看，他也是合理安排的，就这么个情况。用中国人的话说呢，不网友那么句格言吗？树叶落到树根下，差不太多吧。我是这么想的，从我父亲、祖父一直到我家，从整个情况来看。确实是出于这个老的精神传统啊。你看拿我这2个孩子来看吧，他们呢既没感觉到说父母对他们严厉啊，又感觉家庭里非常快乐，从来不打孩子骂孩子。用整个这讲法来看，就是说服教育吧，基本是这么个状态。你看像我的父亲呢，啊，我姑娘她的奶奶呢，也都是非常爱他。
Mr. Ma is a great do-it-yourself enthusiast and has installed coal-fired central heating and a flush lavatory and a shower, so the family don't have to go to the frozen communal toilet at the end of the street any longer. All the houses in Harbin have coal-fired central heating. Coal's cheap. It costs them £1.5 a month out of a total family income of £70 a month. 70 is about average in Harbin, but it could be much more or much less if you work in the countryside. Even though he's retired, old Mr. Ma is the head of the family and treated with the greatest respect. In China, individuality counts for nothing compared to where you stand within the group, the family group, the street group, the work group.
在过去时候吧，有我那一个孙女时候吧，感觉挺单纯的。我儿媳妇和我儿子他们吧，就不主张在第二胎就不主张要了。我那寻思是那时就有活思想，寻思管男孩女孩再要一个，他俩是个伴儿。那个时候吧，计划生育还不像现在抓的这么紧。
过去是咱们中国古语讲有儿防备老。现在咱们在这个新社会里头呢，都有劳保开支。到时候现在我把退休我一月开70、80块钱，对不对？生活满够我用，就不这个思想一点不考虑，就是往后再孙女弟弟一辈有儿没儿这么往下这么传了。
Most days, Mr. Ma Sr. goes out to meet his friends and play mahjong. Not all of them will get a pension. Quite a lot of people still seem to fall between the holes in the social security net. But by and large, if you work for the state or a rich commune or cooperative, then you'll get a pension at 60 if you're a man and 55 if you're a woman.
轻点啊！
没吹，
南风，碰不上就完了，碰不上就糊不了啊。
Part of the workers' palace in Harbin is set aside for the old people to play chess or cards or mahjong from 9 in the morning until 4. If they come to play chess with their cronies, then they've got to do the exercises as well. The old are revered in China, and that fact presents the Chinese with a giant and quite paradoxical problem. As the life expectancy goes up and old people live longer, who's to look after them? Only one child per family is the state policy. But if it works, then each young child may have up to 6 old people to look after. At the moment, there are no geriatric homes needed in China. For better or for worse, you die in the arms of your family. By the year 2000, The Chinese will have to die not in the arms of their families, but in those of the state. And who wants that? Not the old, and apparently not the state. But it's something that can't be washed away. Mr. Ma's youngest daughter goes to the number 5 Railway Primary School. Her teacher says that she's obedient, disciplined, not too talkative, not too intelligent, but always clear-headed. She's quite good at singing, would love to be a dancer, but hasn't the coordination. The school has 43 teachers for 416 boys and 316 girls. That's an average of about 17 per teacher. Mr. Ma's oldest girl goes next door to one of the 6 railway middle schools. Her teacher says that she's very open and talkative, likes showing off, but is always kind and helpful to classmates. She can already speak a little English. Out of 1,025 pupils, 1,001 learn English and 24 learn Russian. Mr. Zhang is the local police constable for neighborhoods 9 and 10. He's on his way to a meeting of the number 9 neighborhood committee. It looks after 2,000 people. That's 400 families, including those in -18th Street. Wang Shuxin, the chairwoman, has been running the committee for 20 years. They're talking about fires and fireworks.
来去检查吧，这个为什么说要咱家安全大检查呢？因为来到春天了，春天必须要刮风，这风大吧容易失火，特别是咱楼房和那些小平房，那小平房烟囱有的漏火的地方，咱们来检查看屋里炉子了有没有漏洞的地方。检查那个炉灶。
Apart from Zhang and a paid social worker from the district headquarters, the committee is made up from the ranks of retired women. They've brought up their families, and now they're in as voluntary members of an irreplaceable, invaluable, unpaid army, part social worker and part concierge. Their brief covers a multitude of things: family squabbles, delinquent adolescents, how to make work for the unemployed, looking after the sick, family planning, fire prevention and neighborhood security. Wherever you live in urban China, the committee will be a constant presence. It's there to see that the streets, like a piece of social clockwork, run to their set of complex and mainly unwritten rules.
白天的吧，就是咱们这个发动起来群众来，退休老工人。完了，这晚间晚间他们派出所，他们仔细出勤呢。派出所，他晚上他们出勤呢，白天是咱们，晚间是他们，那这问题不就解决？
The meeting's taking place in the chairwoman's house.
一开始我搞居民委员会那时候还有20多岁的时候，非常年轻那时候。一开始吧，我是很不愿意做这个工作的，因为净跟这个东家李家的老串百家门，感觉挺烦的。等时间一长了吧，感觉对这些呢比较就有了感情了。那时候年轻人没有现在年轻人这么，那时候就好像因为咱们的社会不断的发展。人的脑袋也是随着社会的发展，过去的小青年特别脑袋单纯，一般的是现在的小青年杀人、盗窃他都敢，那时候好像没有这么多的复杂事儿，那时候的电影也比较单纯。
There are tough people who will stand outside in a temperature of -40 for 2 hours to watch a film show.
现在的演的这个电影啊，一看那些个。特别是咱们演那是什么电影，有个叫佐罗那小青年他就学他就看那个电影，佐罗不戴个黑面纱，就抠2个眼睛，抠2个窟窿，哎，他就弄一个戴上了。戴以后上邻家，他们2家关系特别好，邻居家正好有个姑娘做饭呢，他就把人家给绑上了，完了他就露俩眼睛啊，就你给我钱，你没有钱我就拿刀囊你。你问你为啥要那个上家抢钱去？他说的我就学佐罗，所以现在小孩脑袋就这么复杂，他学东西。
这也是个问题。有的家庭吧，他认为这孩子一个孩子的 这个那个教育方法溺爱的厉害。真正的有一个问题，他真不去教育。你看，你拿举个例来说，他这跟海外打架了，明明自己还是没有理，但强调这个理。这样的至少
记得回来以后呢，咱们能解决就当时解决它，是吧？解决不了的，回来咱们说一声，所以说咱们行，咱们尽力解决呗，是不是
？Zhang is in charge of the two neighborhoods. That's about 4,000 people.
我的工作责任来看呢，就是保卫我这一块居民群众的安全，能把我这块居民群众安全保卫好，这是我的责任尽到了。具体点呢，得要下一番苦功夫了。下去你看搞这个安全释放，得要搞宣传、搞教育，要搞检查。另外我除了这个安全释放之外呢，我还要搞一些这个户口。这是需要时间，另外需要下一番苦功夫。必须经常的要去到他家去。
Zhang's police station looks after 16 neighborhoods. Local policemen aren't often transferred. It takes a long time to get to know everyone, and they're supposed to be able to recognize all the people on their beat by name.
挺冷吧今天？今天是够呛。上哪儿去了你都？
There are 40 degrees of frost outside, so the first thing he does is to feel his ears for frostbite.
没啥事儿啊。都办完了。基本上下午还得去。我那里发现奇闻了，怎么的？怎么的？检查防火，有的把楼梯口给堵得够呛。整个楼梯全部堵塞了。已经都解决了？没有，刚检查出来。我就说我来讲呢，就是管这一块儿啊，时间比较长，不光年轻人，连他家里所有的人我都认识。经常到他们家去串门做客，一天到他们家去工作。我们那里他是只要出生小孩以后呢，我们就落户口，一年这2个委900多户呢，才能生个20多个，就30来个人。
Between them, Zhang and his two neighborhood committees can keep tabs on most things that happen on his patch. The last serious crime in number 9 was 2 years ago. Someone broke into a newlywed couple's flat and stole some money, clothes, and food coupons. It turned out to be one of their friends. He went to Harbin jail for 5 years. Most of the trouble seems to come from men who were adolescents during the Cultural Revolution. Women account for only 2%. The police can send them without trial to education through labor camps for up to 5 years. If the crime's considered serious, then they go through the courts to prison.
走，向前起，向前看，向右走，右转，起步，走。
If you commit a serious crime in -18th Street, this is where you're likely to end up, Harbin jail. The average age of the prisoners is 24. The prison governor is Wang Hongjin, a man with strong ideas about why this should be so.
研究并且在积极考虑的问题，这个我们现在掌握的情况只能这么说。20几岁的青年啊，除了别的一些犯罪分子的特殊的一些个条件以外，比较共同的呢，就是在这个年龄期间，没有受到什么良好的教育，道德观念、法治观念都不强，那就是这个在这个动乱10年之中成长起来。你看1966年。 是吧？到现在是16年的时间，那个时候10来岁的孩子，正好是现在犯罪比较多的这么一个年龄。
以这为健康，属于这个优秀一点的。
The deputy governor is on his rounds. The prisoners live in barrack blocks, very much army style. Each of the rooms holds between 10 and 40 men. Each man is allowed to receive clothes, food, and simple things from home, and has a locker.
像这些小的地方都要注意查， 啊，这实况都注意擦干净。
大伙儿的完了把那关上，要不然会难气堵了，
我知
是吧？
这个是花盆后边的。
你们装的卫生比较不错。
The bigger rooms have televisions, but they're only allowed to watch selected programs. Like the rest of Harbin, the prison's double-glazed and centrally heated. It was built by the Japanese. Compared to most of China, the washrooms and lavatories seem almost luxurious, and the prisoners are free to use them when they need to.
这个屋你负责卫生啊，还要节约用水。这个你们和那两个的都是公用的一个厕所啊。
这个保安行，
比那小便所好看吗？是不是啊？对，必须是好，对的。
Unless you're in a special punishment cell, prison life in China is not solitary but communal. Prisoners work, sleep, and eat together.
监狱嘛，当然具有这种性质啊，就是依据法律判处无期或者有期徒刑之后投入监狱，对他来说当然是一个惩罚啊，这个剥夺他一部分的公民权利啊，限制他一定的自由啊。但是同时呢，我们的监狱既然不是要把他肉体的消灭，那就要改造他的思想，使他将来呢，刑满释放之后呢，别再犯罪。所以在这个意义来讲，我们的监狱的实质，又是一种挽救他、改造他。首先呢，这个犯人要使他认识他自己的罪，认识他造成的危害，就是所谓认罪。认罪嘛，那就要服从法律判决。对法律的判决呢，他因为认识罪了嘛，他就可以服从。这是首先的，不然的话呢，他不能安心在这接受改造。
Here, conformity is everything, and prisoners who otherwise might seem rugged individualists must try to undergo what seems closely akin to a religious conversion. But it's not enough to have changed internally. You must be seen by your fellows to have changed.
也就共产主义道德风尚呢，就是我为人人，人人为我，啊，有着一种崇高的美德。仅就自己来讲啊，没有崇高的理想，我就谈这些。
做我们犯了罪的人，对人民犯下了罪恶的人，应该怎么样去改造自己？首先呢，我们丧失了这个缺少做人的道德。无论什么犯罪都好，都是起码没有这个道德风尚。至于共产主义思想呢，在我们头脑里可能也是非常非常的少吧，非常淡薄。下面这个谁再接着再谈。
The prisoners get up at 5. They work for 7 hours, 2 hours of study and 1.5 hours of free time, then bed at 9. They get 3 meals a day and have 5 hours to eat them in. These are the children not of the bourgeoisie, but of the workers and of the revolution. What seems to concern the governor is that the average prisoner was born at least 10 years after the communists took power. Take the case of the young murderer.
这个他那个犯罪就很顺的问题，他这个杀人，你说他有什么阴的预谋啊？这都很难说。但是确实把人杀了。在饭馆里吃饭，一个偶然的一个原因啊，这个就动起手来就把人杀了。恐怕他在杀人之前，他没有什么这个前提啊，想过呀，考虑做什么准备，仅仅当时一个冲突，他把人就杀了。杀了之后，看来他是后悔，但是人他也杀了。
中国有句话嘛，就是杀人偿命，欠债还钱嘛。本来我是可以呢枪毙的，但是政府呢，考虑我当时未成年，给了我一次重新做人的机会。我所犯的罪行的性质啊是很严重， 父母每次来也就是让我就是老实的、诚心诚意的接受改造，不要惦记家，也盼望着我早日回去，让我那个加深对自己的犯罪的认识。现在的想法呢，就是老实接受人民政府的改造，只有这样呢，才是自己今后的唯一出路。
啊，对，以后带了就行。家看完了完给我带来，我再看一下，挺好那本书。
另外取得了成绩吧，还别骄傲，还得时刻的注意思想改造，是吧？这方面要求还是得严格，还继续好好遵守监规，经常向政府汇报思想。
学习情况，
得这个上小学上还发本了呢。
是吧？那就建议你继续好好学习。
对。
现在看你成绩都很高兴。
都很高兴。
生活就是讲的更
愉快。
爸妈
你在这里反正家里特别愉快。今天过年家里特别愉快。为什么要杀人？这个，反正从来说呢，主要的他由于这个，在这个10年我们这个中国吧10年动乱的期间，他这个受到一定的思潮的影响，无政府思潮。特别是这个法治，中国的这个法治吧被践踏，这个所以他这个头脑里没有法治观念，这个再加上我们平常对他教育不够，所以他
学校的学习又抓得不紧。
行，下月晚点来吧。
For the inhabitants of Harbin, there seems a very thin dividing line drawn between criminals, the mentally ill, and in some instances, even the physically ill. Humans in all three categories are seen as having problems that stem in large part from incorrect attitudes, behavior, or thought. Acceptance of authority, of the group's view, is seen as one of the first steps back towards health. Every morning about 7, Mrs. Ma takes the tram from home to the hospital. It costs her 10 cents a day, that's about 3 pence, and takes about 20 minutes. If you fall ill in -18th Street, then it's to this sort of general hospital that you'll go. Mrs. Ma's one of the 3 ward sisters in the surgical department, with 8 nurses under her and 30 beds. This patient's going to have an operation to remove a throat goiter. She's getting a pre-med injection, but the only painkiller used during the operation will be by acupuncture. The patient's never been in hospital before, nor has she had an operation. The hospital has 3 operating theatres, and this is Mrs. Ma's. The anaesthetist, a fully trained doctor, is used to both Western and Chinese medicine. She puts the acupuncture needles into the patient's ears and connects wires to each of them that lead back to an instrument that sends electrical pulses to the needles. It's a combination of very ancient Chinese medicine and quite modern electronic devices. On the receiving end of the acupuncture is a quite ordinary patient who has so much confidence in the hospital, the doctors, in authority, that she's literally willing to have her throat cut without an anesthetic, an act that seems almost inconceivable to most Western minds.
这是。
你这个病几年了
？2年了。
有什么感觉？你这个病？
是一感冒啊，它有点是
疼。这个我们呢，主要是做这么多年，是已经20多年了吧哈，针刺麻醉。我们一般的情况下，甲状腺手术是很成功的。所以我给他介绍以往的经验。打消他这个顾虑之后呢，让他精神不要紧张。另外呢，这个病人呢，得让他访一访其他已经做过手术的病人，这样呢，他就精神上呢更能够好一点。因为咱们医务人员说的嘛，还不如他自己去访问一下其他病人手术，做的确实很好，而且不疼，这样他就放心了。
现在不害怕了吧？
吃个橘子，把橘子扒了。
自己扒，自己吃吧。
Patients exhibit the same confidence in group judgment that's to be found in Harbin Jail, in the neighborhood committees, or in -18 Street and its families. If you go mad in -18 Street, then this is where they'll take you.
怎么样？
挺好。
挺好哈。怎么样？这个最近的身体这2天？
这2天比过去好多了。
好多了。哪方面你说一说？
哪方面？以前吧，对，好像挺担视自己对象似的。就通过这几天治疗吧，就是没有那种想法了。
那个现在你这个想法，过去的想法对不对呀？
不对。
不对，怎么不对？你能说说？
The patient's 19 and from a Korean minority group. She fell in love with a Chinese boy and both their parents objected to the marriage. She was diagnosed as schizophrenic and she's been treated with a combination of Western drugs, chlorpromazine and haloperidol, and individual psychotherapy. She's with her therapist. He was asked to describe his patient.
这个病人呢，乍开始呢比较言语运动兴奋，躁动不安。 总好呢打扮自己，挺好美的，每天昼夜都想着什么呢？脑袋形成一个影像呢，他爱就是他这个朋友，始终在眼前。这个病人呢还有什么呢？一想到自己什么，我想要当女皇是一种妄想。现在呢，这个病人呢对这个情况呢都认识了。过去我那种想象是自己想的，所以另外什么呢？我当女皇不可能。 这个病人的目前的恢复的情况基本接近出院。有一些事情别想的太多了，是吧？没必要。今后努力什么的，好了以后，第一要好好学习，努力学习。第二，正确认识这个
恋爱观
对这个问题很关键。第三，不要因为有一些事情影响自己情绪。
The patients get both individual and group psychotherapy, but their therapists don't use psychoanalysis or believe in the concept of the unconscious mind. Neither do they believe that the mainspring of human behavior is the drive to have sex. The terms most often used are behavioral treatment, or nowadays, spiritual support. Individuals in groups where this is used get a lot of positive encouragement from both the therapists and from the other patients. On the surface, it seems very much like Coué's old method. Every day, in every way, I'm feeling better and better, plus a dash of Pavlov's conditioning. During the Cultural Revolution, they used to effect cures by group readings from Mao's Little Red Book. And who's to say that they were not just as effective? Perhaps the therapy rests not so much on the literal truth of the theory, but on the faith of the therapists and patients, a faith that will allow them to have their throats cut without any anesthetic. In the male schizophrenic ward, the patients were allowed to wander around quite freely. Doctors, nurses, and patients shared a common restroom. The doctor in charge of the ward has 3 others to help him look after 77 patients. 3 years ago, he was in general medicine. Now he's a psychiatrist. Each room has 4 or 5 beds.
他主要是得病的就是在3个月以前吧，因为他们夫妇吵架，完了再加上那个生产队的一个干部和他俩也闹点意见，这样2下的，完了使他这个心情不好，话多，说话走板儿，晚上那个睡不上觉，一阵一阵的这个发火时候呢打他父亲，打他母亲，打他爱人，甚至把他爱人打回家去。平时这个说话走板的，就是大部分都是吹牛的一些话。 吹嘘自己有多大能耐，自己认识省的什么干部等等，这些个，通过这个就是别人吧认为他能办事儿，或者是能买什么东西，就借给他的就托他买东西吧，给他一共他骗人家有700多元钱，这些钱怎么挥霍了呢？都是吃喝请客交往，完了以后也还不上人家，有时候到商店去要什么东西，人家不给他，他就不满意。 不满意就是砸人家，砸过商店。
没听着什么声音呢？
没听着。
有人告诉你？
没有。
没有这。
我给打了6次，我满街正开交流会嘛，我贴那个一个喜字，我旁边写的小字，我照着那他那个主印，我连写连印，我连再砸他，都是我自己。
我让你背一段。
那可不用我背呢。
说吧。
终日茫茫知未及，贪得宝来又思衣，一时2般皆全备。 屋内缺少美貌妻，取得娇妻和美妾。出入无教少马骑，骡马成群驴也备。身无官职被人欺，7、6五品相官小，4、3、2品相官低。当朝1品做宰相，还想当君做几时？当朝天子已坐定，幼思长生不老时。这意思也没有失足的。我再来一首，行不行了？我有病，1是下，2是气，这我都。
行，继续治疗啊，治疗好咱们出院啊。
好，谢谢啊，谢谢。
看那个。就中国来说呢，对于这个精神病的这个病因，主要是偏重于这个个体的素质，就是人的个性的不平衡，人们的这个大脑的功能发生异常。当然了，其他的精神因素也有关系，精神刺激。 比方说，外国是注重性刺激啊，但是这个就我们来说呢，并不是太多的，这种几率不太多。但是也有一部分是真的，失恋了，性生活的不能满足了，这一些原因也有，但是不是主要的。我们还偏重于这个人的性格和素质，也就是遗传因素。一会儿我们给你看看病啊。
孟庆林40岁，是哈尔滨市东光机业公司的机电安装公司。这个病人住院没有明显原因发病，缓慢发病。得病以后就是到处走，穿的衣服呢给别人。 吵闹不休，有时候呢还得毁东西。首选药物是用的东门铃治疗，现在看起来半个多月没见明显的好转。
你来多少日子
？4号来。
是吧？怎么样这？
挺好，我盼望我的4化早点实现。
你的4化，你的4化，
吃饭咽气化，穿衣毛料化，住房楼阁化，走路摩托化。我的发展前景是，吃饭国宴化，穿衣西装化，全国停格化，走路轿车化。
我告诉你啊，你在这儿已经来了几次了，这会儿一定我们要给你系统的治好，痊愈出院。 好不好？
感谢白衣战士给了我第2次生命。
休息吧，休息吧啊！就这么地吧，他这个诊断就这么问题。分点治。
第2次。
刘英文在哪儿？2号的。
向您敬礼。Goodbye.
Back in the apparent normality of -18 Street, the mental hospital seems light years away. Mr. Sun, the lorry driver at number 8, sounds almost more an inhabitant of Marshall McLuhan's global village than of Harbin.
看电视啊，因为我是开汽车的，我先开外国车，比赛车的，既有勇敢，技术又熟练，我就看的这个适合我的个人开车的性格。我写一个，我爱看滑雪的，滑雪那个勇敢，那个技巧啊，唰唰这么过去，就感觉再这个人又勇敢，他了不起，这个滑雪的功夫，因为这样的话呢，我喜欢看这种电视。
还烧毁了许多装有货物的卡车。
Laker Airways flight from Rome landed safely enough at Gatwick today, but by
昨
then
天，
the
英国
airline
莱克尔航空公司宣告倒闭，12架飞机停飞，约使4万名拿着机票的旅客束手无策，一筹莫展。
过去对外国接触少啊，所以对外国人民的生活不太了解。通过卫星传播，可以看到啊，像美国、英国、法国、意大利、日本人民的生活和他们的经济繁荣，通过电视，那就会增加我国人民的知识。
Mr. Sun seems very much an individualist. From the Western point of view, the idea that a whole people should put emphasis on the well-being of the group or of society might seem abhorrent in an age where the search for individuality is all. But this is a very old idea, a Confucian idea. In modern Chinese, the very written characters that stand for individuality and freedom have overtones of selfishness, even of a lack of regard for others. In the Youth Palace, the self-expression is there, but so is the awareness of the lead to be given by the accompanist. The piece being played by the Harbin Youth Orchestra was composed by a local man. It's called Good News from Beijing. The orchestra's there, the enthusiasm and the energy are there, but they expect to be told what piece to play.